Hey guys, hopefully this is a first in a long series of videos that I'm going to be making, sort of attacking some of the nuances that go into the struggles you guys have been facing being a beginner public speaker. And I've been noticing a lot in my private lessons certain patterns of behavior that newbie public speakers go through when they're first starting to approach this process or take it seriously in a way. And the first topic that I want to be tackling today is hand gestures. So hand gestures are a huge part of having strong communication skills, and one of the big things that I would say to public speakers is when you're a beginner, you want to make sure your hand gestures fit within this mental construct that we have called the box, which is this little thing that this little imaginary box, if you will. It's exactly what it sounds like, that goes in the middle of your frame. And you want to keep your hands sort of within that box as much as possible. And the reason for that is it's going to keep you stationary, it's going to keep you focused, and it's going to keep you concise. When you sort of go outside that box, and actually be distracting to the audience, and they won't understand, or they'll rather be distracted by your body movements rather than focusing on what you're trying to say. And while body movements can be a great aid to your actual presentation, in the beginning you want to make sure it's focused and sort of a little bit more subtle than perhaps when you're more advanced. You could approach some of the more advanced hand gestures and body movements. So here we have an example of a former student of mine called Madhuri, and she's going to be displaying someone with poor hand gestures.
Marvel Comics started in the 1930s, and back then it was known as Timely Comics. And it wasn't
So hey guys, here we see Madhuri sort of swaying a lot more than she should be when she's giving this presentation, and her hand gestures sort of going out of what's known as the box. And while she's being very articulate with her thoughts, it's actually distracting us from what she's trying to say, which is something we want to avoid when we're doing public speaking, especially as a beginner.
being written by some of the really famous writers we know, such as Joey Kirby, Stan Lee, and Steve Ditko.
So at this point, you guys may be thinking, what are some steps that I could take to make sure that my hand gestures aren't all over the place and that my body doesn't sway too much when I'm trying to make a public presentation? And the cure for this problem is actually very simple. This is what I say to all my beginner clients when they're approaching hand gestures, is you want to have a stationary hand position that you come back to every time you're done with a point. So it can be your hands being clasped, or it can be sort of this motion. I don't know what this is called, this sort of diamond shape. And it can be anything that you guys feel comfortable with. It's whatever your choice is. And what this allows you to do is, after you're done making a thought, when you come back to the same form, it's sort of how a tennis player hits a shot and then goes back to the center of the court. And it allows you to sort of waste a lot less time in your presentations because you're a little bit more focused, you're stationary, and you're communicating your points in a more concise manner directly to the audience without distracting them. So here we're going to have the same person, Madhuri, do the exact same presentation, but this time with her hands clasped in the center of the so-called box. We're going to observe the differences.
Marvel Comics began in 1931, but back then it was
So as you guys can see, as soon as Madhuri has clasped her hand into a stationary position, she's able to be a lot more articulate with her points, and she's speaking a little bit more slowly, which is good when you're a beginner. She's also able to sway a little less back and forth, which helps you communicate your points more eloquently to the audience, which is what we want.
such as Stan Lee and Joey Kirby began creating some of the more popular heroes that you see today.
So that's the conclusion of the video, guys. I hope you found this useful. As the series goes on, I sort of want to make it more request-based. So if you guys have any specific public speaking needs, then you can sort of leave it down in the comments, and then hopefully we can tackle it in a future video. Other than that, I hope you guys found this video useful. Please leave a like and subscription if you found it. If you want to see more of these in the future, and turn on the little notifications bar. But other than that, have a good one, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.